conversation with her. Um, I've been well, man. Thank you for asking, bro. How about yourself?
I've been good. Was telling you earlier behind the scenes that I had to go to jury duty today. It
Yeah,
was a different process. As somebody who was born and raised in New York, going to jury duty in New York looked very different. Going to jury duty in a small town in Connecticut when you actually sitting there and the person who's accused of the crime
right.
is like, yeah, you want to be on the juror, you want to be a
Yeah,
juror. So yeah, it was interesting. But I will say this, I did my civic duty, and I don't have to. They said I don't have to go back for 3 years, so I'm happy about that.
that's it, bro. That's all you did, man. You did your civic duty, like you said.
Somebody got a really nice racket though, because somebody got vending machines in the back there, and vending machines is big business. So somebody getting a coin off of that because they got you trapped in. You got to sit in that room for mad long with
Nice,
them. So
right? You might as well eat some M&Ms while you sit there and wait.
you see it basically, but the evolution though of jury duty is different now too though, because I remember going to jury duty once upon a time and you couldn't take anything in there. Like you just have a book, a newspaper, or whatever it is. But now you could be in there with your phone, your laptop,
Yeah,
so that helps a little bit. They still ain't giving Wi-Fi, but they trying.
life has changed. And you want to know the honest truth? I've never been a jury duty.
And you're a lucky man.
I mean,
You're a
yeah,
lucky man.
I've never
Well,
had to participate in any of those cases, man. Unfortunately.
yeah. Yeah. Prior to going, I was thinking to myself, I was like, I'm just going to get up there and say something real quick to kind of excuse myself from something outlandish, but I'm like, nah, let me just, let me wait it out and see where it goes. But anyway, we got a wonderful episode tonight.
Beautiful guest tonight.
A
Yes, sir.
wonderful episode. We are joined by no other than songstress straight from New Jersey, Gina Thompson. One of my 90s fave made some good music. How you doing, sis?
Awesome. I'm very, very blessed. Thank you so very much for asking. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. The real question is, have you ever been to jury duty?
I was listening to that story there long time ago. One time, it was one time in Delaware, actually, long time ago. And I don't even remember much about it. It was so long ago. I don't know if I'm telling my age, but so long ago,
Mhm.
and never. Oh, I'm sorry. And then I actually was called again,
Mhm.
but I had COVID.
Oh,
So I got out of that.
Nah, you slipped through the cracks
Got
with
out
that.
of that. Yep,
mm.
but never since then.
You didn't miss anything. You didn't miss anything.
Yeah, that's what I hear. That's what I hear.
You didn't miss anything. So, can you talk to us a little bit about, just what it was like growing up in New Jersey, and what inspired you to become an artist?
Oh, absolutely. So growing up in Jersey, well, because that was all that I knew, it was amazing for me.
Hmm.
I come from a big family, a big loving family. So it was great being surrounded by love, family, good friends. Went to a decent school,
Yeah,
grew up in the church. So again, that was all that I knew where I was. So of course, not being able to compare it to anything at that time, and not really having any issues living in a decent area. It was in a country area, so it was good. It wasn't a lot of
right.
violence or anything like that going on. And again, brought up in a loving family. It was great. And Also, my family sang. So my mother and father, raised us all in the church, and we were singing on the choirs in church, and singing during devotional service. Every time we turned around, we had a mic in our hand. And then even in school, school had choirs, and so I sang in school as well. On the gospel choirs, did talent shows. So it all started like, everything in the home. And so, again, my upbringing, you know, surrounded by family, loved ones, and we all loved music and sang. So it started a while ago. It was my brother actually that had my youngest brother
Hmm.
had taken me to a studio for the first time, and that's when it really was like, man, that's when I felt this thing for, like, oh my gosh, I want to sing. He saw it in me before I did, and shout out to my brother Chris. He saw it in me before I did, and it just was like the moment that I stepped foot in that studio and
Right.
threw my vocals down. it was like,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah,
So,
man, this
yeah, yeah,
I want to do this. So it
yeah.
kind of moved from there.
The Jersey seems to be has his musical interest, right, Shad? I mean, have Robert Cool Bell here from Jersey, and Whitney Houston.
HG.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So shout out to Jersey. Yeah,
Yeah,
Shad.
yeah. Hmm.
Um, so you mentioned your brother saw it in you, you know, and I guess it felt real for you once you first got in the studio. But when was the moment, like the moment of the moment that you was like, you know what, I really got something. I have something here.
Um, Honestly, it probably was around that time, and it probably was also because, hearing my brother and doing solo acts in church, and again in school doing the talent shows and things. If things just really started emerging, around that high school time frame, and so it was more like I kind of felt something then, and then people in my ear saying, girl, you may be the next Whitney Houston. People start, beating your ears up and telling you so many different things. And
Yeah,
my maternal grandmother, God bless her soul, she would always call me up, in church to sing and, this and that. And it just kind of was like people being in my ear. And then one day, my brother-in-law at the time had uh knew of Rodney Jerkins,
mm,
and that's how that kind of came about. So he told Rodney about me. Rodney was interested in, wanting to speak to me and hear me. And so at that point we made some arrangements for me to go meet Rodney at his home in Pomona, New Jersey,
Mm,
and sang for him on the spot.
mm,
And that was history, right then and there. He was like, okay, when do you want to sign? So
mm.
that's how that went, and that was such a blessing. So yeah,
Wow.
it started at a young age. And again, when my brother put me in that studio and I heard myself back on that record, it was like, oh yeah. Oh, and then, what, another big spot, I'm sorry, this was a huge moment,
mm,
and I seem to forget this when I do talk about this similar journey. My mother and her friend at the time, and God bless my mother, she too has gone on to be with glory.
mhm,
Yeah.
um we were at Wildwood. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Wildwood, New Jersey,
Yes.
amusement park,
Yes.
whatever beach area.
Mm-hmm.
And those boardwalks, or some of those type boardwalks, they have like many recording booths on them.
mhm,
And so my mom just was like, why don't you go in there? And and this was of course after my brother had taken me, so I had a little bit of a confidence at that time. So I
Yeah.
went in there, and I asked them, how does this work, because this is just a little bit different. I'm
Right.
going in here, and just a little bit different. And then this was a studio a little bit more bigger than where I had gone to at that time. So I looked at the list of songs, and I was like, oh my gosh, what song do I want to sing? I end up selecting Wind Beneath My Wings.
oh wow.
So, and to this day, I absolutely love that song. But let me tell you, when I recorded that song, now
Yeah.
mind you, I'm not outside seeing what the crowd is doing. But
Right.
when I will tell you this, once I recorded and I went out there, because they hear you. Once I recorded and I stepped out, outside, and my mom purchased a track or whatever, the crowd was like, was that you? Was that you? That's all I kept hearing. Was that you? Was that you? It was people, it was like a standstill. I mean, people
Mm,
were literally like, oh my gosh, who was that singing? One of those moments. And, and my mom was saying, she's told me while I was in there that, she was letting people know that, that's my baby girl, she's in there. She has an amazing voice. And so, that was another thing, like, yeah, man, I want to do this. I love it. But, coming from a musically inclined family, both
Okay.
parents sang, all my siblings sing,
mm,
our children sing, and we're, it's a blessing. We are truly
Yeah.
blessed in that aspect. So I had to share that story. So it was that Wildwood moment as well.
Really, that's a great story. And coming from a musical family, I guess those were your influences, your siblings and your parents. Outside of
Absolutely.
them, were there any other influences that you have vocally?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, with mom and dad, again, raising us up in the church and just always having music around.
Yeah.
My mom was a huge fan of Shirley Caesar.
Yeah.
We listened to the Winings quite a bit as well. Vanessa Bell Armstrong was a very huge one. Patti LaBelle. These were people that
These are
my
vocalists.
mom and dad played. Sam Cooke. A lot of them were
Oh,
played, in our household. And every last one of them I loved, absolutely. And then of course, there's the Whitney Houston there, and several other people that I just admired, as I was growing up. But there is a sibling of mine that's right above me, and her name is Selena. And man, people, you think that I can sing, like, she's hardcore with it, man. Like, I really thought I was her. you know so, and people even tell me to this day, girl, you sound like your big sis. We talk alike, we look alike, we both were born in the same month, just 5 months apart. She's
Mm,
Selena, I'm Gina. And it's just like, we have a lot in common. And she was one that I listened to as well growing up.
wow.
Yeah. And me
Now,
and me and Rodney, that was your introduction into the industry.
I'm sorry.
Meeting Rodney, Mr. Jerkins, that was your introduction into the industry. That was you entering.
Absolutely.
You can see
Absolutely.
that.
Yep. Once I signed with him, we recorded songs right in his basement. And his father, who acted as my acting manager at the time,
mhm.
took our 5 songs that we had recorded, shopped them around, and it was a blessing with the people that were pouring into the project, that were expressed an interest. It was
Right.
such a blessing. And so we had to decide who we were going to go with. It was like in a matter of a month or so that
Mm,
oh my gosh, yeah. So we decided to go with Mercury Records. We just
mhm.
kind of liked their terms at best. And
Okay.
and then it went from there.
Right.
So when you started working with Rodney Jerkins, was he Rodney Jerkins that we all know now, Dark Child Rodney Jerkins, or it was like, oh, this is Rodney Jerkins? Like, had he already achieved some level of success?
He did achieve some level. He was, but he still was on that up and up, But he had, yeah, he definitely had did some work. But I will say with my project, and then after, there was like more of that notoriety. You know what I mean? And it
Mhm.
was kind of like, people started hearing more and more. So my project was still a big project for him, but he
Right.
most certainly was doing some things prior to. And it
Yeah.
was on, behind the scenes with a lot of things that people didn't know,
Mm,
but he definitely was making a mark for himself. And again, just my album and working, with my art project just
Right.
really kind of helped solidify and put a stamp on some things and just pushed it to that next level.
yeah.
Right.
Now you said like within a month after actually recording the demo, you had a deal on the table. In retrospect, would you have appreciated there being more time for you to kind of get your feet wet and fill things out rather than a deal coming that fast?
Again, not having anything to compare it to. Okay, I'm sorry, are we speaking? Okay, I got you. So no, I want to say that I'm very thankful for that opportunity in the way that it came. Now, what I would say is, um, there's so much to learn,
Right.
in the music industry. And on that aspect of things, it was like, okay, I had to learn so much so
Right.
quickly. And so
Accelerated class.
that
Right.
kind of was like, whoa, wait a minute. But, to get a deal as fast as I did, and to, be as successful as I was, like, I wouldn't change that. No, like that was amazing. And I'm one that, things happen for a reason. And I kind of feel
Mm,
like, it was set up very nicely,
right.
and I had, again, good support at that time. And so um I wouldn't change that. Again, what I would like to reiterate is the fact that, just learning things, because it came so quickly. So
Yeah.
Right.
hopefully I answered that okay.
No, you definitely did. The reason why I asked this because I think that like sometimes we can get things like really really quick and not really be prepared for the full magnitude
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
what comes with those things. And I think part of our education is sometimes like the process of building up to getting those things, right? So,
Hmm.
if you're having conversations for months and you're taking tons of meetings with labels and you're hearing like different jargon as it relates to the business and stuff like that, it
Hmm.
kind of helps prepare you more so for then being thrust in it. It's like, you get a job, right? And you work the job for a month and then they be like, guess what? You the supervisor, you the
Yeah,
manager
understood.
kind of thing.
Hmm.
You're like, wait a
Hmm.
minute, I'm still kind of learning my job kind of thing.
Hmm.
But I think the trade-off or what becomes challenging with it is because you know, especially in music, I'd imagine it's a blessing, it's a dream, and you
Right,
like, you know,
right.
how can I forbade my dream? Like this is
Yeah.
what I've wanted. So when it
Yeah.
comes, and then I think probably the other thing that comes with it also is you probably step back, reflect, and think like there are plenty of people who shop for record deals their whole entire lives and never achieve one. And here it is, a major
Yeah.
label within a
Mhm.
month, you know, sound like you may have been like in the midst of a bidding war, you know, based
Mhm.
on your talent,
Mhm.
willing to say like we trust in you, we believe in you, we want to give you a record deal. So,
Yeah.
you know, what was that experience like? Like, was that something that, you know, that you would say like was it enjoyable? Was it nerve wracking? Like, did you have anxiety?
It was a roller coaster of
Mm,
emotions. Is the best
Right.
way that I can explain it. I want to honestly say it's pretty in it's in comparison to any job. You know, whether you love your job, like it, or whatever the case may be, it's one of those things where you're going to have your moments of you know, and then there's just moments of you know. So it's like it was a bunch of emotions that came into play. I mean, it was very fun at times, but also, you know, with the demands, very overwhelming, you
mm,
know. But again, it's like one of those things, you know. This is what I love doing, so
Right.
you do try to take those obstacles and just try to jump over that hurdle like you're that pro, and keep it moving. And if you fall down, you just try to get back up, you
Mhm.
know, and keep moving, and just try to get to that finish line.
Right.
So the emotions, it was all over the place, you know. But
yeah,
um as I've told my story in the past, a lot happened, you know. And from moments of depression to moments of glory, you
mm,
know. And in the midst of it all, like, without getting into so many details, the bottom line is, like, it's something that I did ask God for. It's something that I feel like the good Lord blessed me with this gift,
mm,
and it was meant to be used somehow, some way, you
mm,
know. And the things that I've gone through and done, and whatever, others can learn from it, you
mhm,
know, I've learned from it. So all in all, it was an experience again, and had its ups and downs, but it was part of my journey. It is part of my journey. And
Mhm.
so therefore, things happened that did happen, and here I am today.
mm.
So one of the questions, or one of the things I'd like, not questions, but one of the things that I would like to say, would I do it all over again? I would. I would. I
Nice.
would.
That's nice.
However, I've learned a lot, and I would do a few things differently, but that
Absolutely.
voice is still in me, that God has
Yeah.
bestowed within me.
Mhm.
And there are still those fans and people that love me and support me, that, you know, even with the hiatus, they're like, hey, boo, here I am, was
Yeah.
just waiting on your return, you know. And
Mhm.
so for that, and most importantly for myself within me, what I love and what I have, I'm very thankful to be talking about this today. And everything that happened to me was part of my journey.
Yeah. What are some things you would say you would have done differently?
Learned a little bit more. Not
Mm,
no, let me change that adjective. Learned a lot more just about the business side of things,
mhm,
and, you know, maybe advocate for myself a little bit more. But I was a baby. Not that I'm making excuses.
Yeah.
A baby, and I know it kind of goes back to that question that you talked about earlier, like, you know, in retrospect or whatever the case may be. But I mean, I was a baby thrown into something very quickly,
mm,
and so it's like, you know, give me a test on my ABCs, but I haven't learned the entire alphabet yet. You
Right. Right.
know, so if that analogy does make sense, but it was
Perfect.
kind of one of those things. So that's one of the great advice that I like to give to people, even to this day. The industry has changed, so to speak, but it still is still that music industry and that business. So therefore, it is things that you need to learn to be successful, you know, or to have some type of success. You want to learn as much as you can. So all that being said, the one thing would be just to, you know, educate myself more, and, you
mm,
know, surround myself with individuals that have my best interest in heart, surround myself more with those individuals that have my best interest in heart. A lot of times I'll tell people, if you look at a lot of these successful artists, whether it's my era now or whomever. I can speak more of mine or maybe a little bit after me, such as the Beyonce, the Aaliyah, the Aaliyah was more around my time, the
Yeah.
Beyonce, Aaliyah, um,
Mom and dad.
um, who did you say?
Mom and dad was around them.
Mom and dad. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm going. Like having that person with Rodney Jerkins, he had his dad. And
Mhm.
that man, let me tell you, Reverend Fred Jerkins is he is the law. When I tell you that man is no beast, he protected his son, by all
Absolutely.
or his sons. But when you have that individual, and that's such a blessing. I'm not saying that, that he didn't look out for me, because he did support
Hmm.
me as best as he can. But of course, his son is his son,
Yeah.
and the most important thing is his flesh and blood, and I get it that I would more than likely be the same way. But he
Mhm.
did, try to support and help me as much as he can without me having that person there. He did try to do what he could, without trying to present such of a conflict of interest, if you will.
Right.
So again, just having that knowledge, wanting to learn more about the industry is very important, and having that team surrounding you that, again, that can advocate for you, learn that business, so you can also focus on your artistry,
Yeah.
and that's because it's so much for an artist to know. Like me trying to be my publicist, my A&R, me trying to
Yeah.
promote myself, and
Right.
and then try to stay skinny and keep my depression down, and like, it's
Yeah.
so many dynamics. And an
Mhm.
artist, you want to focus on your artistry, and if you can have someone in your corner that can be supportive like that, it is extremely pertinent. So that's the one thing that I wish I could have had. My family loved me, but they had their lives.
Yeah.
Mom and dad had to work, and so I just didn't have that. And that's the one thing that I wish I did have. I probably would not had given up, when I did. But
Mhm.
it all really became very, 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 very overwhelming at a point. And so I had to
Yeah.
step back and regroup.
Yeah, I could imagine.
I can
Yeah,
imagine that. So much success happening so fast with
yeah.
Rodney and
Hmm.
Mercury.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
not to think, you come into the game at a very poignant era of hip hop and R&B in
Hmm.
'96. And
Hmm.
then
Right.
have a very distinctive voice that everyone remembers when they hear the things that you do. Like that voice carries and
Thank
signs a
you.
signature along with the beat. And then to think about the beat, right? From Bob James, Mardi Gras. That
Hmm.
song alone is a classic all onto itself. So here we got hip hop coming in with this distinct voice, this magical song. It plays at every party. It's in every set at every party. And
Hmm.
here we are talking about it today. That's a
Yeah.
magical moment. And I can
Thank
imagine
you.
at a young age, a very young age,
Yeah.
having to juggle all of that and still hold
Yeah.
your identity and still be yourself.
Yeah.
Shout out
Yeah.
to you for having such a still beautiful smile doing this. So God bless you.
Thank you
Yeah.
so very much. And I tell people it's nobody but God. And I have, again,
Absolutely.
right now, and as we speak, a tremendous support system, so, and I'm very thankful for that. A wonderful husband and three beautiful children. And again, my siblings, they're like, I got a show coming up March 8th and, and it's in Philly, and they trying to hold it down. They trying to be there for me. And so locally, my family, that's one thing again that I'm very so appreciative of, family and friends, that they do try to support me when I do have local events. Of course, when I go overseas and stuff like that, can't go there. But
Right.
it's and then also my thought process of where I'm at right now and what I'm doing right now. And I'm like, okay, what are my expectations? That's what needs to be managed and
Mm.
balanced in this game. Because let me make something very clear.
Be
I'm
good. Be
very
good.
thankful to come back and do more music, but trust and believe, this is not my stability. With all due respect,
I got
with
some
all due
for
with
you.
all due respect,
But
I
I'll
do
do
have my degrees, and I'm thankful for it. And
it.
and at the end of the day, you know, I I have fun with this. I want to have fun with my fans. I want to, it's the love. So at the end of the day, if I do one show this year and one show next year, listen, you want to see me? I'm here.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
that's where I'm at. I'm not trying to put so many demands and expectations. That's another thing. one of the areas where sometimes a lot of people also fail as well, or not. I don't. Let me be careful saying fail, where they may have a struggle. I don't want to say fail. That's a bad word to say. Where they may have that struggle. But you have to say to yourself, given for what's going on in this industry and what it is, you got to know what it is right now. You have to take a look and see what it is. Manage and balance your expectations, and just be mindful, of those things, and to each its own,
Right.
I can tell you what works for me and my mindset where
Mhm.
I'm at now. Like, I'm loving this opportunity. I'm loving the feedback that I'm getting. It's great, and if it wasn't as such, I still would be okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm having fun with this. I'm loving it. And I don't care if it's 4 fans. I'm singing to those 4 fans.
I feel
Like,
you.
that's my thought process, and
Right.
I'm okay with it.
That's right.
I love that, because I wonder sometimes, like, how does the creative process differ from when you're doing it from a business aspect, right? I think people get into it because they enjoy it, but then
Mhm,
there's a shift that makes it become business like.
mhm.
But now that you're having fun with it, like, has the creative process changed? Has it become easier? Has it been like, all right, this is no longer a chore. This is something that I could play with, because it's not the ends to a means for me. Like, I'm free to create. Like,
Mhm.
do you see a difference now in your creative process as a result of it?
I do, and I appreciate that question. I think that's a very great question. I it and I want to say, let me back up a little bit. I had to work on that balance now. Let me
Mm,
just add that. I really did have to work on that balance,
Right.
because it almost was like, whoa, whoa, I've been going for almost 20 something years, and, no, 20 plus years, excuse me, and it's like, at first it was kind of like, what am I going to do? At first I was a little bit there,
mm,
even though I had my regular life, and being a mother, being a wife,
mhm,
and things along those lines.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
at first it was a little bit of a challenge. But again, I had to get to that point where I'm like, Gina, relax,
yeah.
relax, do this, have fun. You know, when it does come to the creative side, yes, it does. It enhanced that creativeness, because that pressure is not there. Oh my gosh, this has to work. This
Right.
just has to work.
Right.
If it works, it works. If it doesn't, who's to say it doesn't? It still works for me,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
it's something that I'm doing that I love to do, and it's out there.
Right.
So I don't even want to say it doesn't work. It may not do hundreds and thousands of streams and sales, but okay. You cater and love the ones that are giving you that.
Right.
Mhm,
That's what you do. And trust me when I tell you, and I believe that you guys know that as well. There are enough of those out there. Like I said, it could be 4. I don't care
mhm,
about the quantity. It's the quality. It's the fact that they're there, and I'm able to be there and just support those 4. You know,
mhm,
it's more than 4, but you get what I'm saying. So when you take all that pressure away, for Gina, I'm not saying anything for anyone else. You do have some people that are out here, and they're banking on these shows, and they're banking on, oh my gosh, and again, I was almost there. I was almost like, I didn't get a show this month. Oh my gosh. But Gina, listen,
Let it ride,
go
man.
out. There you go.
Let
Go
it.
out there and just do what you do. What's for you is for you, boo.
That's
mhm.
it.
That's it.
Let it
So
come.
that's where I'm at. And I love every moment. I will be having new music coming out after this single, and I worked with my nephew the other day. Phenomenal. We have some great stuff that's getting ready to come out, and my thing is, we're both like, hey, okay, when we put it out, we'll put it out. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it's not like, oh my gosh, we got to have this out by June 3rd. And no, we have to. Those are the things that will stress you out. And both he and I, my nephew, we okay. We are
Mhm.
okay. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? We do what we do for love. He's doing his shows, I do mine, and we do what we do, and we're having fun with it, and we're doing this for love as well,
Yeah, that's dope. It makes me think about, like, so we, as as a podcast, we have done 2 compilations,
Mhm,
and 2 musical compilations, and I think we've learned from each project that we've done something different.
Yes, sir.
mhm,
And when we did the first project, I was telling everybody that would listen, this is proof of concept that we could actually do something. You know, we could pull something together
Yeah.
amongst us as a team. And the reason why I framed it that way is because I think that helps with expectations, right? So
Yes.
rather than expectations being related to how many we stream, you know, how many times it's reposted or whatever it is, you know, the expectation is more so put in control of us. Like, you know, we said we were going to do something. Did we actually deliver on it? And we were able to do it. And then when we moved to the second project, to your point around, all right, we'll put it out. When we put it out, what we learned from the first project was that we set a hard date. Like, we need to have everything in order. So we found ourselves chasing artists for stems, you know, working on getting records mixed. It was just a lot of stuff with it. So when we decided we were moving to the next project, we were like, we're not going to tell anybody we're actually working on anything. We're going to work behind the scenes on it. And then, you know, as we get closer to us being completed, then we'll promote it, we'll tease it or whatever it is. And I appreciate you saying that around the expectations piece, because I think sometimes people get so engulfed in the
Yes, they do.
expectations that it will take away the fun of actually doing something, and it'll actually diminish an accomplishment, something that you feel really good about, because some expectations that maybe you put or other people have put on what they believe it should do or how it should perform.
Yeah.
So to be able to actually create from a space of being fun, to me, is far more valuable than having to create from a space of like, oh God, I got to create and it has to be successful because I have XYZ bills or whatever it is. And I'm not naive. I think that people are in that position, but I don't know if, you know, there are some people who work best with their back to the wall. It's just been my experience that when people have the ability to create from a place of just having fun and risk take and try different things, the product is so much better than from here's you wanted the album? Here's the album. Here's the album. Where's my check kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I know it definitely has. I'm not going to say that things are stress free, you know, because life in general is not stress free. You know, we're going to always have our moments of, no matter what scenario or situation we may be in, whether it's our regular 9 to 5 or whether it's our craft of what we're doing, you know, these things. But, you know, you're going to always have, you know, certain stressors, you know, so the best thing to do is just try to manage things as best as you can. And again, speaking from my experience and myself, what works for me and what keeps my mind, my mental, more balanced is, managing those expectations, and keeping things in its perspective, and, keeping my priorities together. Cause I'm gonna tell you, my family is, well, first is God, but my family's first. Like, at the end of the day, I have to take care of mine. At the end of the day, my family love me for me, and period. Me for me, and so it's, and then, like I said, keeping those things in perspectives. And again, to each its own, this is what works for Gina. And this, and I find that sharing these things with others, I've had people even come back to me and say, you know what, I've tried this, Gina, even when it comes to weight management. And, I'm a huge advocate for mental health, mental awareness, especially for our African American men. I'm huge. And when I, talk to people about those things, because I'm also a motivational speaker, like, I've had people come back to me and say, you know what, I've tried. And I'm always one to tell people, I'm not saying this works for everyone, but I can share with you what I have found that has truly helped me. But these are some things that you may need to, do, consider, maneuver, whatever, and see if it works for you. If not, let's try a different approach.
Right.
You know?
Wow. And I was going to ask you, what's it like being a wife, a mom, a businesswoman in this new climate? Then you sign a new label to a digital platform, and, music today, how it's changed. How do you manage all of that and then still have to invest time back into your family? So hearing all of what you said, you've got it locked in pretty much. You know exactly where things are, where things need to be, and prioritizing your career at the same time. Let's take a little step back. Things that you do, that song there, having Missy on it. What was that? You have any stories about that single that you like?
Yeah. Well,
Just
thank
to
you.
tie into, how much it's such a signature for you in your career.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think anyone listening loves that song when it comes on.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
What about, because I know when it comes to putting songs together, and me and Sha talk about this, I advocate for this, being in the studio with the producers, and putting the project together instead of nowadays you can email it and send it here.
Okay.
The magic of putting that together, and I tell you, it's timeless and it was at a point in the time. But what stories do you have about creating that song?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. So first off, I want to kind of go back to just getting her on the record. It was Puffy's idea, and when he brought the idea to us, everyone was on board. When I say everyone, meaning myself, Rodney Jerkins, my A&R at the time, Bruce Carbone, and my assistant A&R, Mr. C, DJ Mr. C, God bless his soul.
God bless.
Um, but we all were on board with it. And when we heard Missy's part on it, we was like, what? And I remember her even saying, like, after she got on the record and we did the video and things along those lines, I remember her saying, like, man, she was like, she was just so thankful for the opportunity. And even she even mentions in a video, interview rather, that when, Puffy had asked her, gave her the opportunity to be on there, she said that she was going to rap like it was her last time rapping. So she really gave it her all, and she, as we know, she
Put a
put
foot
that
in.
stamp on it.
Yes, it did.
So and hearing her sharing that story with me, and then also actually, like I said, it's actually on um interview. But I remember we talked about that, and it was just so amazing, and she was just so thankful. She's a very, very shy and humble, very humble individual. A lot of people don't know how shy she is, but she really, really is. And well, she was, I know she was when back then,
Right, right.
but for the most part, that I remember we would just have, a lot of talks about certain things. And I remember when Aaliyah was doing her, God bless her soul, her video shoot for If Your Girl Only Knew. Missy wanted me to come to the video shoot with her, so I did end up going there. Wasn't in the video, but I do remember us going, and just around that time, it just was
Right,
so
just the
amazing.
camaraderie of
you
being in
know
the
oh
vibe.
my, yeah, yeah. And Missy told me several times, she was like, and this was before I left Mercury and went to, and I may be jumping ahead because you may
Mhm.
have a question about this, but
Mhm.
this was before jumping to the Electra deal with Missy and Sylvia Roan. But anyway, Missy would say to me, had said to me at least 3 or 4 times, she was like, Gina, I absolutely love your voice. You have one of those voices that, and again, back at that time, it was unique, she thought. She says,
Very.
but the thing that scared her, and to this day, it stands in my head. The thing that scares her, though, some people are so unique, it goes over people's heads.
Mm-hmm.
And she had mentioned to me, she was like, yeah, you and Coco resemble to us an extent, but Coco is most certainly in her own lane with her soprano diva,
Mhm.
fabulous self. She most certainly is. And so,
Mhm.
but Missy said, but you still have a different curve on your voice. There still is something a little bit different. And
Right,
she wasn't necessarily talking about the riffs and the runs. It was just a sound, something that
right.
I would do. So with that, and she had kept saying that to me. She was like, "Man, it's just so scary though, because you so hot that it just they might miss it." Then I didn't really know what that meant, but I just was like, okay, well, we can just move right along here though anyway. But she was working on a project, of course, for Aaliyah. And so Aaliyah had, now this is a little bit more of outside of the things you do, but it was around that era. So this is why I'm sharing this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she had asked me about doing a reference for a song for Aaliyah. And many people to this day don't know that I referenced it. And I want to say I even believe that some of my backgrounds may still be on it. Some people have told me that they heard it. I don't even know if my name's on the credits. I don't even know. Nevertheless, um, um, Can I Talk to You by Leah? Can I talk to you?
Mm.
Comfort
Yeah, I know that.
you. I don't know if you know that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yep. So I referenced that song for Aaliyah, and
Easy.
Aaliyah, when she heard it, she jumped right on it. She was like, "Oh my gosh, yes!" And so that was a wonderful time, that we kind of all, had just spent together, and just good memories around again that things you do era time frame, and then moving forward, kind of past that, her and Timberland was like, "Yo, we what's going on with the label, blah blah blah. Where's your second single? Like you got this hot song, Biggie in your video, Puffy, where is we going?
Yeah,
Things
yeah.
things just had happened. And again, not to say what so much, things had happened, just business things didn't work out. um Make a long story short, end up moving forward. Missy was like, listen, I'm gonna talk to Sylvia Rome. We're gonna try to get you over here at Electra. I'm like, cool. So my attorney, and my team or whatever, everyone, could work very well collaboratively and signed me to Electra. Missy was executive producer. I was co-executive producer. And again, not sure if you're, familiar much about, that album.
Mhm.
It was unreleased, unfortunately. It was titled If You Only Knew, but the single Yada Ya did come off of that album, and Missy was featured on that as well. She wanted to rap on it, and Eric Roberson was the one who wrote that track.
Yeah,
Such a phenomenal songwriter. That album, if I could just
he's been
spill real
around for
quickly
a
on that
minute.
one.
I hear
I'm
his
sorry.
name. I said Eric Roberson been around for a minute. I hear
Yeah.
his name
Yes, he has.
co-written so many songs. I'm like, hold on, he was on that.
Oh
Like,
yeah, or he wrote that. Yeah,
and
like
he
he
wrote
wrote three
that.
tracks.
Yeah.
He wrote like almost three tracks on that unreleased album. Well, he co-wrote one that I wrote and did backgrounds with me, but he was under like the Jazzy Jeffs camp at that time.
Mm.
Jazzy Jeffs camp at that time. So they were on that album. Beanie Siegel was on that album. John B was on that album. Montel Jordan, Shep Crawford's camp was on that album.
Ah,
I know I'm forgetting somebody,
they never
but nevertheless,
released that. They never
yeah.
released that.
Oh yeah, that album was unreleased, and unfortunately, the album was merging, going through changes. There ended up being conflict with some things. Again, one of the stories that I don't want to get too deep into,
Okay.
but that didn't come. The record didn't come out amongst several of other artists. Their record didn't come out, got shelved, and then the next thing we knew, Elektra kind of like merged into WIA and a number of other things. But I was kind of really like going. I had really had took a I took that to heart, that second go round,
Mm.
and especially pouring what I poured into that second album.
Right.
um to this day I don't have every detail, but I have enough, and knowing how the industry then worked,
Right.
I kind of just put one and two together,
Right.
and realized that it equals three and not zero.
Right.
So yeah, and then I just left it alone, and that was my hiatus, and then just focused on family, um trying to keep up with my mental and physical wellness, and just moving forward with life, and just letting God work with me, and help, just heal me, and some people say, well, Dad, but you were gone for so long. Don't put no time on God's process.
How about that?
Okay.
I'm actually I'm gonna talk to you about that later on about because I'm a firm believer in God's timing. But I just want to ask you like from so because listening to you talk about just the experience of creating that second album, it seems really near and dear to you because you
Oh
had
my goodness.
such a hand in it.
Oh, right.
So after it didn't get released, like what is it? How does that look like? Do you find out okay, the album's not getting released? That morning you wake up and you be like, I'm done. I don't want to have nothing else to do with the music industry. Or is there a progression of frustration that leads to you saying, you know what, I'm gonna leave this alone for a while? Like, what does that look like?
So depending on, well, I didn't wake up the next day and say I'm done. I did try to fight for a little bit. Actions. The saying, action speaks louder than words. So when I kind of saw the delay, and how things just after the yada yada, and then the calls, you stop hearing from people. When those things started happening, and for whatever reason, I stopped hearing from them. Again, people have their lives. That's a story that is still a mystery, but nevertheless, um you get tired of the chasing, and tired of the no one's answering the calls, and my number never changed. I'm just like, so it just kind of got frustrated. I did try to fight for a little bit, and I even was offered assistance from my A&R,
Hmm.
Marilyn Bob, whom was Marilyn Bob at the time there, wanting support with Gina. Listen, maybe we can try to place you somewhere else. He did try to offer that support, and I do want to thank him for that.
Hmm.
But at that point, that was that moment, after just trying to be patient and see like what's going on. Why are we not moving forward? We have hits. What is going on here? So after that moment, that's when the exhaustion really was depleted. And I just said to
Mm,
my attorney, you know what? This is what I feel I need to do to keep my sanity,
Right.
and so at that point, because I'm not hearing from anyone, and I get that other people are having their own projects to deal with and other artists and other things are going on, but I just was like, I'm just going to move forward before I lose it.
Right. Right.
And so, and again, without saying but so much. So what happened was that at that moment, that's when I said to my attorney, yeah, uh this is what I feel needs to happen. And thankfully, no one gave there was no friction there.
Right.
They understood where I was coming from, and who knows, I probably did them a favor. I don't even know.
mm,
Right.
But all I know is it was done smoothly. And I was let go. They didn't give me any problems. They didn't try to come after me for nothing. And it was a really nice break, and I'm thankful because
mm,
what I got leaving that label, a lot of people don't get that. You understand what I'm
mm,
saying? So I again was thankful to God for that, but I know mentally, emotionally, whatever you want to call it, like I I had to just fall back. I had my oldest son at that time. So I was
Right.
like, let me focus more on motherhood here. Let me
Right.
let me do that and be that mother to my child. And whatever it takes, if I gotta go back to a 9 to 5 or whatever it gotta be, then that's just what I'm gonna do. But
yeah.
when I say what I'm saying to you now, trust me, it was a challenge. You
Well,
you know, there it was a challenge. It
Right.
really was.
I could imagine one element that I always consider, because we've had a number of entertainers that we've spoken to,
Mhm.
um, and they've described similar experiences. And one of the things that comes out sometimes is what that transition looks like, going from a personality, in the public, where people see you on TV, they see you in performances, they see you at stages and things like that. So you have that element where, okay, you're a celebrity,
Mhm.
but then kind of going back to being a normal person. Like, what goes through an entertainer's mind when you make that transition to go back to being, a normal person? And I've only interacted with you for a brief period of time, but the vibe you give me is that you're somebody who operates from a place of humility, and that you're a humble person. So I don't see you as somebody who ever got out there and things got away from you. Like, I'm Gina Thompson, kind of person, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think there are people who do get so far along
Mhm.
that it can be really humbling blow for their ego to have to take a step back and be like, okay, I'm back at square one. So what does
Mhm.
that transition looks like? And if you could talk to us a little bit about how you were able to make that transition, successfully.
Well, I'm gonna start with, you probably already know what I'm gonna say, like nobody but God. But with all that being said, again, it was not an easy road. I went into a very deep depression, and that happens to a lot of artists. And it was really bad. And I have to say that, God really saved me, man. And yes, thankfully, me always being that, always have been, always will be that very humble person. Don't forget where I come from.
Mm,
That's just the bottom line. I was eminent, or at that time, meaning, famous, but broke, and that thing, I think that's that thing that really gets a lot of people, like, there is no way I'm going to be clocking in at wait a minute. That that humility, that embarrassment, that oh my gosh, you know me, like I said, wasn't easy, but didn't forget where I came from. And let me tell you something, my son mean more to me at that time, only having my child, more than my life itself.
There you go.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take care of what I have to take care of. But like I said to you, y'all,
Right.
it was God, because
mm,
I almost gave up a lot.
mm,
I almost yeah, it was really
It's a
tough,
whole
but it
thing.
was God that just
mhm,
talked to me and enabled. And I'm so thankful to God that he never gave up on me,
He intervened.
because he, thank you, he intervened, because I really did give up on myself. Like I was so like numb. I didn't even know where to turn. And but my family again being very supportive. But again, going back to that, my mom and dad brought us up in the church, you know, and right now as I speak to you, what you see is what you get. I've always been this type of person before my record deals, during my record deals, post my record deals, and now my indie deal. Like this is, I can't be nobody better than myself. So with that being said, I'm so thankful to my family, my for rooting that type of behavior, personality, trait within me, and then for God, like you said, intervening and not giving up on me and allowing me to just say, to take that humbleness and keep it on my shoulder. It fell off a little bit, but it wasn't going. So I just, had to put my sleeves back on and say, okay, now I got to get out here and do what I got to do for me and my son. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? So Gina, whatever people gonna say, they gonna say whether you're famous, broke, millionaire, whatever. People are gonna say what they want to say. They talked about Jesus Christ when he died on the cross for our sins, but he kept it moving. So who
Amen.
the heck am who
That,
the heck am
yeah.
I?
He's
Who
a
am I?
warrior. He's a true warrior. That's right.
So therefore, Gina, dust yourself off and try again. However, it won't be a record deal, but I'm gonna get up there and I'm gonna do what I gotta do to take care of me and mine. Didn't even have a degree at the time. I did what I had to do, and God continued to bless. When that humbleness stayed, and He saw that and felt that okay, she's allowing me to take this driver's seat. She's letting go and she's letting me. She's realizing she can't fight this battle by herself. When God saw that, and I even realized that, the Lord began to bless me tenfold. And
Praise
to this day, that's why I said to you, even now, like I do my music and I absolutely love it. But let me tell you something, I'm having fun. I am okay. I
God.
am okay. You hear what I'm saying?
That's
Whether I make another record or not, Gina Thompson, Lugina Tillman,
right.
I am okay. And I am so blessed.
How about that? That's right. Stay blessed
Hallelujah.
Yeah,
too, man.
yeah,
And
man.
now
Yeah.
that we, so much has happened and taking your hiatus. I think you became a nurse practitioner in the hiatus, haven't you?
So I can explain that. So I did
Well,
go
but
that
I want
track.
to add on to that, because
Okay.
taking a step back and having to do something like that, but then taking a leap forward. And
Okay.
here you are with a new single. You're
Mm-hmm.
doing it independently with a
Mm-hmm.
whole different way of doing it. Speaking of Infinity, it being a digital platform.
Mm-hmm.
Take us through that. You know what I mean? Like I
Mm-hmm.
have to buckle down. Now I have to let me go study something, become a nurse practitioner. But then you still have this burning desire to
Mm-hmm.
still create, and then the opportunity comes, and you have a beautiful single, Nobody, and here
Mm-hmm.
you are with another group, a whole nother world of stuff going on. You know,
Mhm.
how you managing that? Talk about that.
So again, just by staying rooted and knowing that God is in this driver's seat, and I have a supportive family, they help me stay balanced. And again, it's my expectations. It's what my mindset is. It's how I view things. It's keeping it in perspective, knowing my priorities. When I get off that track, there, I have that husband there who humbly says to me, I'm receptive of constructive criticism. I grow that way. Not everybody's that way, but having that family there, mom or my dear, having that and knowing that there's a time for this, there's a time for that, and you having to stick by that. And again, I'm not trying to make it seem like it's all gravy, peaches, whatever, but me and my
Absolutely.
husband been together for 25 years. And let me
Mm,
tell you something, again, nobody but God, but it's just having that balance, and knowing when to say no, knowing when to say yes. It's time, this is not the time. And again, it's not easy, and sometimes you have to go back and reevaluate those things. And a lot of times what I try to do is be very self-aware, and I try to self-reflect a lot as well,
that's
on a lot of things, and create that time for myself. Although I'm all those roles, sometimes I feel like I'm like this, I'm like,
mhm,
wait a minute, what's today? But
mhm.
for the most part, again, I don't do this by myself. I have a team. that helps me, stay on board with those things. And so you had asked about with the schooling and things along those lines. Well, I set that time aside. That was a goal, and not letting anything deter me from it. That, of course, keeping my family in perspective. Now, the nurse practitioner, I decided to move away from that because I'm not a fan of prescribing medication. So I went through that whole process, yes, and did it and just didn't do the boards, if you will. I was pretty much done, just didn't do my boards or whatever. But I just said, you know what, I'd rather just focus on maybe getting my doctorate's degree. So that's the path that I'm on.
Nice.
More of getting my doctorate's degree. I don't have to prescribe medication. And let me tell you something. If I don't get the doctor's degree, I want y'all to know that I'm okay with that. Because again, this is a personal
Yes,
goal for me.
that's
It's
right.
something that I'm striving to do, but I'm very satisfied in the success that God has given me. I'm very satisfied in what I'm doing today, music, nursing, everything that I do. I
Yeah.
love it. So it's a personal goal. I'm very ecstatic about it. But again, it's a journey. It is nobody's race. So that's my process. But again, how I manage it all is piece by piece, piece by piece. And again, if I'm off track with something, I have a family there and loved ones there that says, okay, let's reevaluate this real quick, Gina. And then I take a step back,
Let's take
and then
this
I'm
in.
like, okay. And again, I'm receptive of that. So
God bless.
that's what helps me. And again, it's by far, fellas, this it I do not want to make it seem like it's peaches and creams, because some days it's like roaches and water bugs. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just like, but for the most part, get with it. I'm breathing, I'm living, live, love, laugh, have fun.
Mm,
Right.
Seriously, with
yeah.
this world we're living in today, let me tell you, listen,
What what
no.
what is insanity? Explain insanity.
Well, when I was with Infinity, I'm not with them any longer.
Okay.
When I was with Infinity, great group of people. Shout out to Rena Lowenbrow, and shout out to DJ Leak. Rena's the attorney. Leak, they're partners basically, if you will, in this Infinity. It's an NFT, non fungible tokens. Yeah, I think I'm saying
Okay.
that right. And what it is, it's more of like not a record sale. I'm gonna be honest with you. I still don't have the total grasp of basically all the benefits of it, but it's like an investment, if you will. And
Hmm.
so at that time when I was with them, I thought it would be something, good, unique, and different. And the fact that they were very supportive and wanted to work with me, I said, okay, I'll give it a try. Unfortunately, things just didn't work out in that aspect. No hard feelings,
Move on.
people change. You begin to learn things as things go along, and it may not just align with your path or where you're going or your growth or whatever. So you may have to make some changes and adjustments, and sometimes that can come departing ways, if you will. However, we are still a family, believe it or not. Like the leftovers, all of us, we are all still family. We all still work together. I still call the leftovers my band, and we are all still cool. I'm just not signed to Infinity any longer. And I'm very thankful for that remix of the things you do. But we did part ways business wise, but we still are very much in tune with each other. We still like a family in that aspect, and it takes a professional and person to be able, people as we are, to be able to have that perception, or mindset rather, and say, hey, let us agree to disagree.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah,
And that's where we're at. I love them. We all still talk to this day, you know.
and I brought them up because I just thought that was a unique way to sign with a
Mhm.
digital platform who does NFTs, and I
Yeah.
just thought that was very unique. That's why I brought
Yes, yes. And
it
it's a big thing. There's a lot of people that are in that path, and then there's those that are still, stuck in the old, the other path. I don't want to say old school, but the other path. And
up.
again, it's one of those things, to each its own. I'm not saying that I would never entertain that quote unquote life or industry. I'm not going to say that right now, and I'm doing other things.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
During this interview, we've talked a lot about timing, right?
Mhm.
Timing and timing, and I think that one of the things that kind of comes to mind for me when we talk about timing, especially God's timing, is that I believe sometimes things are put in front of us for us to have sort of like an, for lack of a better word, an appetizer, to get a tease of, you know, what it may be. We
Mhm.
get that appetizer, we get that tease of what it may be or what it could be.
Yeah.
And then after it whets our desire for it, part of it comes back to our faith and how hard we're willing to wait for it or work
Mhm.
for it. And sometimes it requires not the work, but the actual wait for it.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering,
Hit that on
you
the
know,
head.
like when you know, when music wasn't in your heart, you know, was
Mhm.
there ever a thought for you that, you know what, like, you know, music will come back to me, but it's on God's timing? And I mention that because now you've had a resurgence, you know, in part because, you know, you partner with DJ Cassidy.
Mhm.
And I think that, you know, to a degree may have made you say, like, wait a minute, I still got fans out there. People still love my music and I
Yeah,
still get busy,
yeah, I
you
still
know.
get busy. That's
And
right.
maybe in 1996, that was your appetizer, right? That kind of
Mhm.
got you to wet your whistle, you know.
Yeah.
But now, as you have this conversation with us, you're talking about all these things. You're reflecting, like, well, now, you know, I have my family around me. Back then, maybe if I had support, I had this, I had that. So, you know, I'm just wondering, like, when we talk about God's timing, you know, like, wasn't in the back of your mind when music wasn't necessarily on your heart that, you know what, it'll be back, but it's, you know, I'm gonna leave it in God's hand.
Yeah, what I basically felt with that hiatus was more of like, whatever's meant to be will be kind of still. And it was like I knew that the singing was still in me because and I hope I'm answering this question, correctly. Like, being around the house and just having that time off, I would still sing around the house,
Mm-hmm.
I would still do things here and there. And I just, but it just really got to that point where, because I was so comfortable in my nursing and just, being with my family and doing, what I was doing. And I just was like, Lord, whatever, if it's meant to be, it'll be. And
Mm-hmm.
then I kid you not, like, um I didn't see this. I didn't see this. Is
Mm-hmm.
basically like where I'm at right now. And I didn't see this, but I'm not mad that it's here. But when the DJ Cassidy thing did hit back in early in 2021,
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was so strange how all that even came about. And I was like, I didn't even know who DJ Cassidy was. And then it just kind of was like, what's his name? Bow-legged Lou reached
Oh.
out to me. Yeah, because he had got my number from a high school friend of mine, who's a
Mm.
DJ. DJ Flair is his name. And from Fineland, New Jersey, where I'm from. So basically, I keep wanting to say Big Lou. Bow-legged Lou got
Mhm.
my information from Flair. I told Flair it was okay to give it to him. Long story short, Lou and I connected, and then he told me what Cassidy had in mind of doing, and I was like, I haven't been singing for years, but my mind started saying, that wouldn't be bad, because again, I'm so, don't get me wrong, I'm going out and I'm
Still
always
doing
hearing my song, and then
that.
even some of my friends and family, when they see me, they be like, the things you do makes me keep, so I would hear that all the time. But
Mhm.
but when Lou calls me and is like, I was like, he was like, well, think about it, whatever, Cassidy wants to talk to you, blah blah blah. Man, I thought that thing overnight, and I called him right back
There
up
you
and
go.
was like, yeah. So then he gave Cassidy my information. Cassidy calls me. We talked about the project. And mind you, this was also like around that COVID time,
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, you know what? Thank you for thinking of me. Let's give this a shot. So he explained the process, said that they were coming to my house to do it, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow, this is really going to be fun. So
Mhm.
when I did that, okay, that was a light for me. Like, okay, girl, if you don't get yourself together and get back on that mic and get back in the studio,
Mhm.
like, you still
Yeah,
got it, Gina.
yeah,
Like,
put
you
it together.
still got it. And when I saw the millions of reviews that I had, and then when I saw the comments, some of them were like, I thought the girl was dead, and some people was like, man, she ain't miss a beat, and she still look good, and she
Mhm.
sound good, and this and that. I was like, okay, there are still some fans out there.
Hibernating for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, but even then, it just was like, okay, Lord, let your will be done. If
Yeah.
this is meant to be. So even then, Cassidy was like, girl, I'm telling you, you might as well go ahead and get your IG or social media. I said, a who? What's it called? I didn't, you know what I mean? I knew Facebook and that was it. So again, long story short and moving forward, um, so that's what I did. And if you look at my IG page, you'll see it says established March 2021. And then, I started getting, interviews more and more after that, and then
Mhm.
a couple show offers. And then the next thing I knew, the beginning of 2024, I got a call from Black Promoters Collective and DJ Cassidy's people
Mhm.
that, bam, they wanted to do Pass the Mic live. And
Yeah.
the first show was going to be Greensboro. Where, when, how we getting there? What day you need me? Yes. And then that's when I really was like, you know what, God? I
God's
mean,
Good.
timing.
Good.
it's just falling, and then I get a call from 50 cents people, and I'm like, okay, I'm going, I'm just going.
I'm
And
So
going.
show
again, my mindset, keep it balanced, don't get crazy with no expectations.
Mhm.
Lord, you continue to guide this path. What's for me is for me. And then I got into it. I met Mr. Woods, got the single. Things just kind of started going, and then I'm getting good feedback from the single, and here we are,
Yeah.
so very thankful, very
Yeah.
thankful.
You know what I think that the music industry is now, that for artists probably from like the 90s, if they could kind of make the transition, like it's about, to me it's about scalability, right? So
Mhm,
if you think about like the 90s, and I'm talking from the end of a consumer, it was like the big boom where people were selling millions of records. Everybody was coming out, it's gold, platinum, big budgets and everything. But from a scalability standpoint, all right, if you had those million fans that bought your record, or 500,000, if you could capture those, if you could capture 10,000 of those now, that's gonna, if you make a Gina Thompson t-shirt, or if I make a Gina Thompson, any kind of merch that they're going to support it or whatever, you can do wonders with that and live comfortably and be deemed successful. Like, gone are the days of the huge budgets, the huge studios and $1 million videos and all that. Now it's really about kind of scaling it down and looking at like,
yes,
okay,
and
where's my niche audience? Where's my core audience? And
yeah, yeah,
how do I sell to them? Like, and again, I'm not an artist, but I would probably be like, I'd rather have 100 diehard fans than 5,000
okay,
fans that
yeah.
may show up
Mhm,
maybe now and then, but I don't know if that's an easy transition for a lot of artists. If you used to big budgets and used to
mhm,
selling, gold and platinum records.
hmm. Yeah, no, I can totally understand, if many artists do feel that way. And you're absolutely right though, for those that could think, outside the box because of the way things have changed, you might have had that then, but if you can, though, even if it's just 1,000 or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, sell to those people that love you, you're absolutely right. You could be okay. And me, like, I don't even on the lines of merch, people have even mentioned that to me. And I'm like, okay, maybe that's something that I can consider. And it's funny that you
Mm-hmm.
did say that, because that is something that I'm in the process of, is actually
Mm-hmm.
getting some t-shirts. And again, I don't have this big expectation, and if people would love it, if for those that do want it, I'm more than thankful. But I am not, creating this big, I got to sell 1,000 t-shirts. If
Mm-hmm.
I sell five, I'm thankful.
cool, right,
You
right.
know what I mean? I'm thankful because those five, they wanted, and here I'll probably give you five for free.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm
Um,
saying? So, but yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Totally. Yeah.
this next question I'm gonna read because I want to make sure I get this right. I
Hmm.
did this research in preparing the interview. So I read that major labels have a success rate of roughly 0.0465%. That's about 1 in 2,149 artists or bands signed to a major label ever reached the superstar status required to have a chance at actually making money. Do you think that this is due to labels' lack of transparency? And if so, should there be more plain language contracts? Like, everybody clowns Kanye West now, but I remember a few years ago, Kanye West was on Twitter and he was saying something like every business deal he does now, he wants it to be a one-page contract in
Hmm.
simple,
Hmm.
plain language.
Hmm.
Now, the validity of what he's saying, and because who he is the messenger now, is kind of shaky. But I do think he may have some credence to that. Like, like people would probably be a lot more successful if they knew what they were
Hmm.
actually getting into.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts about that?
So if I'm understanding correctly, I'd like to try to recap what you said to make so I could answer you.
Mhm.
Basically, you have these long drawn out contracts with these record companies and they're signing these artists, and really the artists aren't really being lucrative from these contracts.
Exactly.
And why is that? Is that pretty much a brief synopsis?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I want to say even though attorneys a lot of times are involved, it's from the old school way, that is, it's a lot of information that's in these contracts that us artists aren't aware of with these point systems. And
Mm.
what happens is, and I hate to say it, but a lot of times attorneys aren't even, or accountants or business managers, who, it's not really necessarily the accountants or the business managers, because they're the ones that's pretty much, trying to, manage your money, but the attorney's the one that's representing you when you sign. Those
Mhm.
point systems aren't really broken down. So when these artists go out here and they sell these records, now this is what I had learned later, it's that it's because of this point system. So yes, in these contracts, they are so intricate, and they're not so much in layman's term. I get what Kanye is saying. Just give me a one page, spell it out and keep it
Yeah.
simple where I can really understand it. Then that way I'll know more of what I'm signing. And then I probably wouldn't end up signing, or it would be more negotiation, because a lot of times even these attorneys, when it comes to these record companies, a lot of times they're all I got to be careful really saying this, but a lot of times it's a lot of them in it together. They're
Yeah.
just really really in it together.
In
Do this, and you'll get this, and you'll get this. And sometimes the artists, again, we get these pennies on the dollar.
Yes, ma'am.
So I feel like and I hope I'm answering this so quick. Okay, I feel like if the artists were more informed of how that point system works and what they're really getting, and when they will, and it or if they will receive money, that artists probably either wouldn't sign or have the contract negotiated much
Mhm.
better. And then if you're not that big of an artist, the label may just be like, forget you, and on to the next that's going to sign my 20 page. So yes, I believe if contracts were structured more to where it wasn't so intricate, and that artist could understand, especially that novice artist could understand, and they were more in the artist's favor, or at least more geared towards helping the artists out more and giving them more points and pennies on the dollars, if you will.
Mhm.
I think there would be far more successful artists, and they wouldn't have to wait to sell a gazillion records to see $5.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gotten even worse with streams now, because nobody's
Oh my
ever been able
gosh.
to explain the math behind streams.
Mm. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy right now. So, what can fans, new and old, expect from Miss Gina today? Now, new project.
Mhm.
What we got moving forward?
Yeah, so right now I do have a single out that's titled Nobody, written by Charnel Allen, produced by Crazy Figs, and featuring Fanny the Body. I have to remember to say her name, that she's
Right.
blessed that record so much. Such a
Nice.
sweet young lady. So yes, it is a new single that is out on all platforms. And I also encourage people, if you could just go out there and stream it or whatever you choose to do. Again, they're on all platforms. You can support me that way. You can also follow me on the Real Gina Thompson IG. I do have other platforms, but honestly, fans, friends, family, they know this. I really do a lot of things on IG, and there is a nice, fan following there. So I encourage people, if you want to, learn more about what's going on with Gina Thompson, up to date stuff. Listen, I like I said, try to keep things so simple. Go on my IG page, call into your local radio stations and request the songs if you could. But for the most part, that the Nobody track is out on all platforms, trying to get more, even radio stations and other stations to, support it. And we do understand how things are again in the industry. And there is more music to come. I'm even working on a video for Nobody as well. So that is what's to come. And if you have any questions, feel free to DM me on IG. My team does check my inbox daily. I can't say that you'll get a response that same day, but
Right.
please know we do try to stay up on that. Also, on my IG page, there is a number and an email address for bookings. You're more than welcome to call 443-877-9846. And then my email address is on the front of my IG page as well. There also is the Real Gina Thompson Facebook. But as I mentioned, I'm more on IG, and that's that's mostly where you will find the most updated information. So that's what's next. I have shows that are coming up. Stay tuned for that. Again, if you follow me on my page, you'll see I'm definitely will post up the upcoming shows. And I do have a one coming up in March. I'm not on that flyer, but I am going to be a surprise. It's not even a surprise anymore, and I keep saying surprise in my interviews. I will. I'm a featured artist that's going to be coming out on Sunshine Anderson's act. So
Okay.
that's in Philly. I think it's the Leah Chorus Center, March 8th. And then I have, so just stay tuned. You will see the rest of the shows that's coming up for April and so forth. So yeah, I think I covered pretty much there. And I want to thank you all, each and every one of you guys, including yourselves, for the love, the support. I cannot ask for any more. So very thankful. And again, any questions, feel free to DM me.
Yeah. Thank you. No, I appreciate you
You're
taking
welcome.
time out, out of your schedule to agree to even do this interview and have a
Absolutely.
conversation with us. And I appreciate your resilience.
Oh,
I
thank you so
appreciate your
much.
resilience and
Yep.
your ability to
Yeah.
work through things and now your resurgence. And I'm wishing you much success. This was a fabulous conversation. Like even just listening to you talk about like the stuff around expectations
Mhm.
and everything, like you have a remarkable story. You have
Thank
a
you.
wonderful new record.
Thank you.
So God's
Thank
timing.
you.
Now,
Yes,
now's
that's
the
right.
time.
That's right. Thank you so much. So if you care to share, that's what I tell people. I appreciate y'all for your time. And I know I went a little over, and I do apologize for
No,
that.
that's
But as you can
perfectly
see,
fine.
I'm long-winded.
No, that's perfectly
No
fine.
worries,
So
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Gina Thompson. Everybody,
You're
make sure you
welcome.
tune in for the next episode of No Ideas Original Podcast. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Peace.
Blessings, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.